Welcome back to Ghost Pirate Entertainment. I'm your host, Kanan Becker, and today we talk about the 10 greatest deep sea movie monsters of all time. So recently on this channel, I did a top 10 list of my favorite ocean horror movies of all time. And that got my wheels turning. Made me start thinking about what my favorite sea monsters would be from movies. Would they be monsters that were in those movies? Or would they even be from a horror movie? Or they just happen to be scary creatures? Either way, it got me thinking, and so I decided it would be fun to do one of these lists. And real quick guys, before we get started, if you could do me a favor and hit that like button, because that does have a huge impact on this channel, and I would very much appreciate it. So with that, let's get to the list. So starting off this list at number 10 is The Monster from Deep Star 6. And this is a movie that I think is underrated, and it's really a lot of fun. One that if you haven't seen, I do recommend checking it out. But the creature in it is so much fun. It is similar in a lot of ways to the creature from Leviathan, but I think it's better. I think it looks slimier and creepier, and just the overall design I found to be more revolting and more creepy and just a better sea monster. So that's why it is coming in on my list at number 10. Next up at number 9 would be Meg from the movie Meg. And this is another one of those really fun creature feature movies. It's not like an amazing movie, but it's one of those big monster type of movies. One of the more modern ones that I still thought was a lot of fun. And Meg is just such a cool looking CGI, yeah, and I do like my practical, but as far as CGI goes, I think it was a pretty fun, big monster, you know? And I love the idea that a megalodon could be still existing somewhere deep in the ocean. I always fantasize, so to speak, of us one day discovering this huge, undiscovered creature somewhere on the bottom of the ocean. But to be honest, as far as a CGI creature goes, I did enjoy the Meg, and it's not my favorite sea creature, that's why it's back here at number 9, but I did still enjoy it a lot, and I still think it's a fun movie and a very cool creature. Next up at number 8 is Davy Jones from Pirates of the Caribbean. So don't get me wrong, he's not scary, but that's not what I love so much about him. I love the design, I love the idea of how his beard is basically these legs from like an octopus and they're always moving and doing things. I just love that concept and that design. He just looks rad, and I just thought he was a really cool character in general. So yes, he's not scary, but that's not exactly what I was trying to do with this list. This list was mostly just about creatures that I thought were badass, and to me, he's not scary, but he's still badass. So that's why he's at number 8.
You have a debt to pay.
Next we go to number 7, and this is a classic. This is the OG, and that would be the Gilman from Creature in the Black Lagoon. And I have always loved this movie. This has always been maybe my favorite Universal movie. If not my favorite, it's definitely up there. And I just love his design, the way he looked, and yes, compared to things you see today, it may not be so amazing looking, but for when this was created and how it was done completely practical, and how this guy had to actually wear this suit and swim underwater, like he's swimming underneath the female lead, and I mean, it's just an amazing scene, but the whole movie, I just love it so much. And I just love his design. It's just creepy enough, it's just scary enough, and especially for when it was done, you can only imagine how scary this must have been to like a 12-year-old boy at a matinee on a Saturday just looking up at Gilman on his big screen. So that's why he's my number 7. Next up at number 6 is the giant octopus thing from Deep Rising.
Now there's something you don't see every day.
And I don't know what this creature's called. I looked up different things, but the things that I saw pictures of from the movie that were called like Ottoman worm or something like that did not at all fit the creature I'm talking about. I'm talking about that huge octopus thing who its legs had these mouths on it and it was just vicious and just badass. That thing is so creepy, so scary. So even though this movie isn't necessarily the greatest movie, to me, this creature is definitely one of the greatest sea creatures because it just looks badass, it just looks scary, it's wet and slimy, it's everything you want in a sea creature. Next up at number 5 is the Kraken from Clash of the Titans. And this is another one of those that is basically everything you could ever want in a sea creature. It's just so massive. Everything about it is intimidating. The fact that it's like you never really get to see the whole thing because it's just always all over the place. It's just amazing. Even though it's all CGI, it's beautifully done. If you look at it kind of like a cartoon, not as like a real thing, but more in a cartoon, somewhere like in between reality and a cartoon is kind of where it falls. But on that level, I love the design. I love its head. I love the mouth, the way its giant growling teeth. I mean, this creature is just so badass, and I definitely think it's one of the greatest sea movie monsters ever. So next up at number 4, it might be my favorite sea movie monster ever. If you include the lore and every appearance in all these different movies and things that it's been, and that would be Cthulhu. The only reason it's not number 1 on this list is because I'm trying to base each one of these based off one movie appearance. And based on one movie appearance, it's amazing, but I just couldn't put it at number 1. So the Cthulhu that I am talking about is from the movie Underwater, and I talk about that movie all the time. It is one of my favorite movies from the last few years, and the scene is just unbelievable when you see Cthulhu. And if you could just see a little bit more of it, maybe for a little bit longer, it would be my number 1, period, no question. But the fact is, you only see it for a brief glimpse, but it is terrifying. The way it's built up, the way you can't quite see it, and then little by little you kind of get this outline and kind of figure out what you're looking at, but it's so dark that even then it's hard to really identify everything you're seeing. But what you do see is just such a wicked design. I absolutely love it. I love Cthulhu, and it's just everything that I want from a Cthulhu scene. Just that mystery, that there's something deep down in the dark bottom of the ocean that we haven't discovered, and my imagination loves to play with the idea that there really could be this Cthulhu type of creature way deep down that could be one day discovered. And because of that, that is why it is on this list. Next up at number 3 would be the giant squid from 10,000 Leagues Under the Sea. And the reason this is so high on my list is because when I watch this, and I'm not going to say that other people are going to think of it as that cool or scary or any of that, especially compared to some of these other ones I've listed, but because of when I saw this as a little kid, this was my first introduction to this giant sea monster. And it's just beautifully done, especially for way back when this was done. You get to see all its tentacles, and they're so big, and it's all done practically, and it holds up to this day. I literally just got done watching this scene, and even now, it still looks beautiful. It looks creepy, it looks scary, and it's just so exciting, so fun, just such an outstanding part of this movie. I love the way it looks. Its giant beak, I mean, it's just intimidating. I just love it. It's such a blast. This whole creature is just amazing. And in a lot of ways, I think this creature is what started my fascination for the ocean and the mysteries of the depths of what could really exist deep down in the dark abyss of the ocean. And that's why it's on this list. Next up at number 2 is Jaws.
gonna need a bigger boat.
And that would be Bruce, the giant shark from Jaws. And when this movie came out, you just got to think about it. I remember hearing stories from my dad and stuff, like they would not go in swimming anymore. And these were surfers. These were guys that basically lived in the ocean. And after seeing this movie, they would go nowhere near the ocean because it scared them that much. This movie to this day is still terrifying. It still holds up. I can watch this and still get goosebumps and still get on the edge of my seat, even though I know what's going to happen, because it is just done that well. I love that it's animatronic. I love that it's practical. There's no CGI garbage. This is all this real thing mixed between real footage of a shark and animatronics. It's just beautifully done. And still to this day, this is one of the most badass sea creatures you could ever imagine. It is just fantastic.
Smile, you son of a...
All right, now we go to the last pick on the list. Number one, who could it be? What could it be? And that would be Godzilla. I can't say it right.
Godzilla.
Just got done just the other day seeing Godzilla vs. Kong, and I just love Godzilla. There's so much to love about him. And the one I'm mostly talking about is the recent Godzilla movie from like 2014 or whatever. I mean, I grew up watching Godzilla movies. I've always loved Godzilla. I even had a little bit of a soft spot for the early 2000s crappy Godzilla, just because I love Godzilla. But that one did not do him justice. This one did. He was huge, larger than life, intimidating to everybody, everything. There's just so much about him that's great. The fact that he can be on your side if you know what's up and you're not trying to fight him, because if you fight him, you're gonna lose. Like, I love that he's kind of this hero, anti-hero. He's just a complex creature. He's much more than just this big giant monster. When you see him coming out of the ocean, how intimidating and crazy that is. Even in the new Godzilla Kong, when Kong is on the edge of the battleship and you know Godzilla's coming up, like just that crazy larger than life creature that comes from way deep down and just comes out with this huge mouth agape. Just such a fun creature, one that there's no way I could not have put him on this list. And just with all the history involved, everything that is Godzilla, Godzilla had to be my number one. Alright, so that's gonna do it for my list today, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I would love to hear in the comments down below who you think I'm missing from my list, or who you agree with on my list, or whatever. I just love hearing from you guys. And if you could do me a favor and hit that subscribe button and ding that little bell, because that is the best way to keep track of this channel and when I post videos like this. And I try to post videos like this at least 2 times every week. And I also want to give a huge thank you to my patrons, because your support means so much to me. And if you would like to find out more about becoming a patron, the link is down in the description. And like always, thank you so much for watching. Please crush that like button, and remember, horror can be fun. I will see you guys next time.